Hello everybody, this is AK, I'm back. So in response to my last video, someone asked me, why did you say that it's hard to get a 4% dividend yield from a good company in Singapore? What about DBS, OCBC and UOB? Oh my, yeah, that is a fair question, right? After all, DBS, OCBC and UOB now form about 45% of my portfolio. And in fact, it should be more after the recent, I think, mini rally in the share prices of these three banks. I think DBS closed at what, $39 per share on Friday. But I think I have to put this in perspective, right? I think you should provide some context to what I said, because in my videos when I talk is mostly unscripted. In fact, they are all unscripted. I just ramble on and just say whatever comes to mind, right? And sometimes the thought process isn't very clear, or why the reasons for saying something are not fully verbalized, right? And sometimes just at the back of my mind. The reason why I say something like that was with the CPF, you are going to get 2.5% to 4% per annum. And that is something that's quite reliable, right? And those are floor rates. Those are floor rates, and they're quite reliable. Whereas with dividends, banks or companies, they could reduce dividends for whatever reason. And in some instances, there are companies that actually suspend dividends, right, for whatever reason. And during the pandemic, the banks were told to reduce their dividends by 40%, right? MAS told them to not pay so much dividends to shareholders, and they might have had to, because they might have had to support the economy, right, by providing cheap loans to businesses, right? That's the reason that I can remember, right? So if we are people who rely solely on dividends for a living, like myself, like most retirees who are fortunate enough to have dividends from their investments, they depend on the dividends for a living, then we will take a hit, right? People like us will take a hit, right? And if we are people who believe in lean fire, right, or believe in just having enough and we can retire, we will take a big hit because we might not have enough passive income to maintain our lifestyle. In such an instance where dividends get suspended, dividends get reduced, right? So I think it's always good to think about what could go wrong. And I've said this many times, that having some bonds in our portfolio, investment grade bonds, mind you, not junk bonds, or having some good, and not just any investment grade bonds too, because I mean AAA is investment grade, AA is investment grade, single A is investment grade, and you can even have BBB, that's also marginally investment grade, right? So investment grade bond, AAA investment grade bonds, they are safer, right? These bonds are safer, right? And it's the safest that we can have. And I think, like I said, the CPF is the best there is for Singaporeans. It's more than AAA. If you know, there's quadruple A, if there's such a thing, right? And it is something that we can fall back on, and we really should always have a fallback plan, right? So, like followers of my blog and have been reading my blog for many years, you know that I don't need to draw upon my CPF to fund my retirement, right? But it is something that I have in case all else should fail, right? It's something that I have in case all else should fail. I also said that during bad times, right, when the stock market has a rough time, my portfolio seems to do quite well, still do quite well, because there is also the fact that the CPF is part of that portfolio. I consider it as a part of my portfolio because the CPF value is constant. It does not go up and down drastically. In fact, it doesn't go down at all. It only goes up. So there's no volatility in the CPF, right? And for people who are funding their retirement using passive income, it's not just the interest that they are getting, the interest income that they're getting from the CPF. It's also the fact that if we have to draw on our capital in the CPF is safe, is there. It's not like equities, So if you're 100% in equities, for example, and then there's a market crash and we need the money. We need money for some reason. We have to liquidate at a loss, but not with the CPF. So imagine, at 55 years old, I can go to the CPF, even if Mr. Market is suffering from a depression and the stock prices are down, my investments are down. I wouldn't have to liquidate those at a loss in order to get money. I can go to CPF and say, I need some of my CPF money, and I can take it out. The money is there. It has not depreciated. That's not a good word to use. It has not reduced, right, in amount, right? So I think that this is something that I must clarify, because 4% per annum dividend, yes, you can get from investing in some companies in Singapore, and even more than that if you invest in DBS, OCBC, and UOB. But like I said, there's risk, there's volatility, right? There's no guarantee that things won't change, right? Whereas with CPF, there's a fallback plan and something you can fall back on, right? So enough rambling from AK on a Sunday, right? So if AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.